I have a big problem with this. You have these two young kids who are playing on the infield, and granted, I agree. Starlin Castro makes some boneheaded defensive plays out there. He's only 20 years old. You can't get on his case too much. I have a problem with the national media and our own broadcasters putting him on a pedestal saying how wonderful he is at everything else, and the defense will just come. I would have hoped that our manager would have held him accountable. That's what he's doing now, but the problem is, where was he 2 months ago when Castro was making defensive mistakes? You know what I mean? Castro needs to learn somehow, and it just seems like a big joke now that we're finding out that Quaddy's frustrated with it in the middle of July.
You know, I was absolutely taken aback by what he had to say. He absolutely blasted Castro and Barney for the play. You know, to me, it didn't make sense. You know, he lost it in the sun. Big deal. You lost 9-1.
Yeah.
That, in the grand scheme of things, didn't affect the game that much. And then he went on to blast Barney, saying, oh, you know, you got to make the play. But then he says, oh, you did the right thing by backing off Castro because he called for it and, you know, not interfering with it. And yet he still puts him on blast. And then he made a statement that I thought was a little out there in my views. He said that in baseball, everything goes through the shortstop and the second baseman. You know, most of the plays, the relays, everything. And you know, to me, that's true in some respect, but not entirely.
Of course
what
not.
really starts off, obviously, is the pitcher and the catcher. And it seemed to me that he was shifting the blame, like, oh, you know, yeah, our pitching hasn't been that great, but you know, it all goes through the second baseman and shortstop. So if they can't pick up the slack, it's their fault. And then he went on to praise his veterans for their energetic and fiery play, which I thought was a load of Betty Crocker, if you ask me. That was absolute crap.
Well, it's ridiculous. And the veterans, most of them have not stepped up. I think we could agree that Pena and Ramirez have been very, very good this season. Marlon Byrd, when he's been healthy, has been very good this season.
Agreed.
What else do we have to fall back on? Nothing.
I mean, Wood has been pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Marshall has been good, but I mean, Zambrano's been bad.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone tries to think of anybody else.
When it comes to Zambrano, everyone tries to say that, oh, he's decent here, but he's not good there. He's not pitching like an $18 million pitcher. I have a problem with that because we can't continue to forgive the bad performances by saying, oh, well, he was good last week. We can't do that because he's paid the money to come through every start that he makes. The only starter that's been coming through like that has been Matt Garza, who, again, today pitched very, very well. The problem with Garza is that he's not a number one starter. And that's one thing that the Cubs need to look at going into next season. Obviously, we have been playing the Astros throughout the weekend. We won the first two, went for the sweep today. It was the MLB Battle of the National League Central. And so far, the Cubs have come through. Now, everyone's getting excited about the potential of a sweep over the Astros. Okay, it's cool that we're going to get a sweep. It's cool that we could very much break the streak of not winning 3 games in a row, because we're the only team in Major League Baseball that hasn't done that yet. The problem is we're getting excited about doing this against a team like the Astros.
Well, with a season like it has been, I can't blame fans for getting that excited. Like, oh, we finally get the sweep. And yeah, it's against the Astros, but for the fans and for a lot of players, it's a pick-me-up. It doesn't. In Major League Baseball, as you obviously know, any team can win on any day. And winning 3 games in a row against any team is hard, even if it's the Phillies against the Cubs, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that aspect, like, yeah, you know, they shouldn't be getting too happy about beating the Astros and sweeping them, but, you know, kudos to them if they're able to pull it off.
You know what I'm excited for?
Not really. What are you excited for?
The offseason. Anyway, obviously, we talked about the White Sox and what they could do at the trade deadline. We could expect the Cubs to be stellars at the trade deadline. I personally believe that we might see Alfonso Soriano be moved. The Cubs have said that they will eat as much of his contract as they need to. American leaguers need a powerful designated hitter. He fits the mold perfectly. He hasn't been having a bad season, although since June 24th, he's only been hitting .200 with 1 home run. It's been bad. His OPS is .558. It's going to be difficult to move him, but maybe a change of scenery will at least help his power. That'll help a team who needs a designated hitter. Also likely to be moved, Zambrano's name always comes up. He's a potential one. One of the players that Jim Hendry said he will not move is Sean Marshall. Now, I personally love Sean Marshall as a player. Last week I said that he's been this team's Cy Young. However, you want to rebuild next season. You want to start fresh. I mean, after a season like this, you really, really need to start fresh no matter what. If you can get a top 50 prospect for Sean Marshall, why don't you make the deal?
I disagree. I think keep him around.
Really?
Have him as a, building block in that bullpen.
Yeah.
Or, maybe he could even take a stab at starting him. But he's been phenomenal in the past couple seasons in the bullpen. I say, you probably wouldn't be able to get that much for him. Mm-hmm. So, fish a little bit, see what you can get. And if you don't like it, if it's not what you want, then leave it, and he'll be a great commodity in that bullpen in the future.
Kerry Wood and Aramis Ramirez have also gone on the record to say that they will not waive their no-trade clauses. And Aramis Ramirez has the plague of the 10-5, 10 years in the league, 5 years with the same team. So it's going to be difficult to move Ramirez, but I'm starting to become a little more endeared. He's been playing spectacularly this season. Last year was an anomaly for him. He was terrible last season. It was one season. It was his worst season since 2000. Mm-hmm. So he's been coming through, and as far as I'm concerned, I would not mind actually seeing him in a Cubs uniform next year. I'm changing my tone from what I said last week. And I'm going on the record to say I'd love to see him in a Cub uniform next year because third basemen are so hard to find these days.
Yeah.
Aramis Ramirez is only 33 years old. If we can get him a very short contract for a minimal cost, I'd love to have him back. Because he's the best third baseman hitting the market right now.
And you know what? He's been their staple third baseman, the first one since Ron Santo.
Absolutely. We went through 101 third basemen since Ron Santo before Aramis Ramirez.
That's a lot of third basemen.
Well, every time we would start a new third baseman, whether it be Mark Bellhorn, Chris Steins, Jose Hernandez. Yeah, remember these names? Yeah.
Gary Gaetti.
Gary Gaetti. Well, he was great. He was a great pickup. We gave him an extension, and then he was terrible. But nevertheless, every time we'd have a new third baseman, whether it be Santo himself or Pat Hughes or Chip Carey or Steve Stone, they would all count, okay, this is third baseman number so-and-so since Ron Santo manned third base. And I think I recall the count being 101. I may be wrong, but it was either between 99 or 101. So hold on to Ramirez while you can. I think it's a good idea. But talking about potential front office moves, Hall of Fame former general manager Pat Gillick has expressed interest in running the Cubs. Now, one of the rumors that came out was that Ricketts and Gillick were in talks this week. Ricketts shot those down, but Pat Gillick did say he would be interested in running a team like the Cubs. With Hendry's contract running up, do you think we give Pat Gillick the job as a vice president of baseball operations to focus on what the team is doing, hire a general manager that'll make the right decisions, and just clean house in the organization as a whole?
Totally. I think that, if someone of his capabilities is available and wanting to come and help the Cubs turn around what has been a terrible past 2 years and really put the Ricketts on the right path to success, because they're new. They don't really know how to run this operation.
Right.
So Gillick would be the perfect guy to come in, clean house, start over, get his ideal of what he knows works. Get those guys in there. Get the team, get young guys, get the team going. That's all he needs to do. And I think that he doesn't really need to prove himself. He's being inducted to the Hall of Fame. This would be just something to, probably ride off into the sunset with for him.
I would hope so, and hopefully it doesn't end up like Lou Piniella where the media can't, give him the benefit of the doubt. However, the difference is if you're a vice president, you don't really have that spotlight on you. Now, I will say this much. He has the 2 rings from Toronto. That was his claim to fame.
Yeah.
And if you look at what those teams were made of, you had John Olerud, Ricky Henderson, Tony Fernandez, Roberto Alomar. Those teams were unbelievable, and he was responsible for them. I'd say the man knows a thing or two about winning baseball games.
I would say so, too. Wasn't he responsible for getting the Phillies going back in 2008?
Yes, he was also responsible.
And I think that this position would be very appealing to him because he's older and he'll have a chance to not have to be in there every single day doing business.
Absolutely, and hopefully the Cubs make the right decision. It's very important that they get going in the right direction again. But like I said, or like you said, rather, he helped out the Phillies. He did what he did with the Toronto Blue Jays. The man knows how to win, and it'll just be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah. Speaking of Pat Gillick, in other news, congratulations to Roberto Alomar, Bert Blyleven, and also Pat Gillick on their induction to the Hall of Fame today. And, this is a good day for both of these guys. Bert Blevlevin has been, waiting